again. You should. Okay, so my name's Ryan Walmsley. I now own my own limited company called Ryan Tech Limited. You can find me as Ryan Tech on Twitter. It's still right there. Somebody's filming me. This is what I should have done about last jam. Okay, so if you need any of my details, just come to me. I've got business cards to give away because I need to get rid of them. So let's go. So I'm most known for Raspberry Track. So this I launched. I think it was in March or May now. May. I launched this in May 2012, and this is one of the first Raspberry Pi related projects that came out, because this came out even before the Pi existed. Well, before people started getting Pis. For the simple reason, I wanted to be nosy and know who got a Pi before me. And it worked. And now it's a very handy way. So if you are running a Raspberry Jam like this one, or your own, some of you might have found out for this jam about through this website, because what we do is we get the location and then we do a search on the emails in a 35-mile radius, and if you live within 35 miles, you'll get an email. So that's what Raspberry Track is, and that's my main project. In July June or July, I ran a coding marathon for 8 hours and raised £500 for the foundation. During that time I've tried to launch a couple of projects, but they failed. This one thing, some projects will succeed, some projects will fail. There's no point in keep trying to work on a project which does not work, otherwise it's just going to cost you money, time, and you won't enjoy it, because I know the projects which I've not done or have discontinued, the reason why I've not done them is because they're competitors or other things that happen, which then means it's either going to cost you too much to do it, or you've got to pay so much for advertising. So that's why I gave them up. But this, so that's one thing you've got to learn, is if you've got a project and it doesn't work, then just give it up. Don't keep trying to waste money on it if it's at a point where you're just trying to do it because it's the only thing you've got to do. Think of a new idea. So my second Raspberry Pi project, which I built with an actual Raspberry Pi, or my first one I actually built with it, was a little robot. So this is a big track robot. The board at the back of it is basically what I'm going to be showing you, but on a prototyping board designed to drive 6 motors at a time. At the front you've got a Raspberry Pi Rev 1, one of the first, God knows how many, 100,000, with a Bluetooth adapter, and you're powered by cables in, because battery banks weren't cheap enough then, whereas because the Pi has been out and mobile phones are getting bigger, battery banks are a lot cheaper. So I then thought, how can I get this onto a market? So I then took it, so a robot most robots only need 2 DC motors. If you are going to go for 4-wheel drive, most of the time you'll be using the same, both wheels on the same side will probably be doing the same thing. So it only has to drive 2 motors at the same time. It has to be less than £10 a kit, or preferably £10 maximum, because it wants to get in schools. Some people, there's 2 things in schools. You've got the point where some schools can get funding for really expensive stuff that costs £1,000, and some schools can barely get funding for it. It depends on what the actual funding is, because some schools schools are more happy to pay £1,000 for a 3D printer than they are for a kit of 10 Raspberry Pis. It's not a nice thing to say, but it's the truth. So that's why my budget was that much. It has to be very easy to use, so preferably a student in primary school could take this board, some example code, and build themselves a robot. So I then came up with this prototype. So this is just that first robot board, but shrunk down onto a PCB. This PCB was made by OFH Spark. So there was a couple of things that are included which aren't on it. So I'll probably use my hand for this. Here is where a voltage regulator would go. A voltage regulator can be handy because it means you only need 1 power supply, but there's a reason why I took it off, and I'll explain in a second. We've got the chip in the centre here, the Raspberry Pi GPIO here, and then the power in for the motors and the motor 2 out. This board worked, but it weren't good enough because it was so compact. It made it cheaper for the PCB, but it was very hard to solder. So it was very, very difficult to put together while being neat. The voltage regulator, the reason why I didn't do that is because it got too hot when it was just running a Pi without an SD card put in, any extra sensors, Wi-Fi, or anything. The Pi weren't even doing anything. The Pi was just being powered at the bare minimum ampage, and it was getting ridiculously hot, which I thought, for schools, we can't have something where a kid could go and touch it briefly and it burn them. As I was saying, it was very small to be able to solder it easily. So I'm now an average solder skill. So it depends on where you look at on solder skills. My soldering has improved over since I launched the product because I've been soldering so many of them to get it better. But it had to be very easy to solder as well. And you couldn't access any GPU openings. So when you put this board on, you couldn't access anything else. So prototype number 2, I ordered it and it was a failure before I even got it because the software mucked up and connected the power directly to ground. And this is one thing, before you order, you should really double, triple check your schematics to make sure nothing like that happens. This is ordered for another company called Seed Studio in China. I was looking at going down for the manufacturing, and while I was fixing the arrows, I had a company called Ragworm follow me on Twitter. And then I had this, which was the exact same board, but just without the 5-volt connected to ground. So this was the final board. So Ragworm, I went for manufacturing. This is because they are British based. I know that I will get them within 2 to 3 weeks, shipped to me at no extra cost, and all I have to do is pay for the PCBs. For prototyping, they cost more. Prototyping in OSH Park, I think, cost me £6 for free. Ragworm cost me £10 for one. The reason why, even if your prototype comes back from OSH Park as a success, you'd still go for the final manufacturers. Sometimes different manufacturers do different things. The Seed Studio, when I got the boards, they highlighted I had a problem with the silk screen, which OSH Park didn't highlight because they weren't high enough resolution. So it's a success. So it was tested. There was one issue in the manufacturing which I then emailed the company about, and they said we'll fix it when you go to do a production run. So this is why you should always do a prototype first, even if it's not for your final manufacturer, because it may cost you more, but you need to make sure it's correct. And when you order 1,000 of them, 1,000 of them is not wrong, because it's 10 quid. If it goes wrong, you can say, okay, just bin it. 1,000 is going to cost you easily 400 or 500 quid. You can't really take the risk on 1,000 at 500 quid versus one at 10 quid. So I then took the board to Tindy. So in the board you got everything you can see there just within the kit with a anti-static bag. I don't actually have any on me today. In a pink anti-static bag with all of them parts in it. So there's a couple of things I found when I was doing this. So I priced all my parts out of one company, and this is a big mistake I made, because when I priced them out of that one company, the reason why I went for them is because they were the cheapest. And that don't always work when you're actually going to do it, because they didn't have any of the stock needed. They only had all stock for one part, and this was ordered 200 kits worth, which wasn't even on my batch. So when I had to then go to other manufacturers, some of them were dearer, some of them were cheaper. So it's a lot of, what I'd say is best is go to different manufacturers at the same time for the components and then calculate an average price for it. Because that means if you charge the higher end of the average price, if it's cheaper you make more money. If it's the same price, you don't lose out, which is a very important tip. So I went on Tindy. They run a fundraiser for 2 weeks, and like Indiegogo or Kickstarter, they required it to be per board. So they didn't do it in the price of £500, but then in the units of 137 units. I needed 50 to be able to do. I got 137 units sold. And then after this finished, at the same period, I then formed my limited company. So I went to the bank. I've got a bank account in Ryan Limited's name, no problem. Postage, it sounds ridiculous, but Ryan Limited's got a business account with Royal Mail. So I've got a little logo which I just have to put on the top of any jiffy bag or letter. I take it to the postal depot, they'll post it out. If I wanted to do a postage via the online system where you go on, say this is what I'm shipping out, type in the address, I can't because I'm 17, and they reject me because I was 17 and not 18. Sounds ridiculous, but you can get a business account easier than what you can use a website. PayPal, I had to go through a 3-month battle because their systems couldn't handle a 17-year-old only limited company. Now, if I've got 2 PayPal accounts, I've got my own one and my company's one. Both of them got locked at the same time. My own one is still locked because it's my account and it's 18. The company's one shouldn't have been locked in the first place because it'd be at the age, but I've managed to get it unlocked because it's actually owned by the company and not me. So if you are doing something like this under 18, go for limited company. It only costs you 15 quid. Yes, you have to do some more paperwork every year, but it then saves you hassle with PayPal. Hopefully it'll be a little bit less than 3 months if you know where to do, what to do. But I wouldn't have got a bank account for my business if I was 18 and doing 17 and doing a sole trader. And there's a lot of stuff where if you are under 18, this is the easiest way to have to then do something like I've done. And without the company, there would probably be no kit, and I wouldn't be here today sending around this. I would probably be doing something else project. So prototyping selling. So don't go with one supplier. Go directly to manufacturers. So the latest version of the kit, I'm going directly to manufacturers where possible. It makes it cheaper. For a slightly changed prototype at either SH Park or Ragworm, I recommend. SH Park, they're cheaper, take longer. Ragworm, 2 weeks, you get delivered within the 3rd week. But they're more expensive and you only get one for the price. Think? Okay. I'll do questions after. So after that, I've then improved the kit. So okay, so I'll just take this off here. So this is version 1.5 of the kit. So this is half of the next revision. So we've changed a couple of components on it. So we've now got blue blocks because blue blocks are cheaper over black. We've got extended GPO headers. By going directly to China, we'll have to do extended GPO headers for the same price as it costs us to be able to do normal GPO headers. The only thing which do not buy this from China ever is the ICs. I bought 500 ICs from China. They were cheaper. They were all fakes and didn't work. So I luckily got a refund, but they are the only thing which I'd say don't try and save a penny on them from going to China. Stay with a good known supplier because they will be genuine. This is a genuine chip, so one of the things is it's a motor screw. It should provide the part with some level of protection, whereas the ones they provided, you could put it in the wrong way and it still work, which shouldn't happen. So in total, and then now my latest product is then releasing the whole thing as a robot. This is a robot with a damage there on the top. So what it is I've just included the kit, the PCB, which is still made the same way, the Ragworm. Kind of got 1,000 more PCBs on order. You get the Wi-Fi adapter, you get the wheel, the robot, you get all of that. It's not the easiest thing to use. And there's also a little battery pack just there. So you get all of that for £28 excluding PMP, and this is one thing. Free PMP may sound nicer, but free PMP will cost you money because free PMP can work 2 ways. If it's cheap enough for you to do free PMP, do it. But if I charge free PMP on this, the actual robot itself will be marketed as £35 robot kit. £35 robot kit don't sound you wouldn't want to buy a £35 robot kit over a £28 robot kit, even though you've got to pay a fiver. It's one of the marketing techniques that you'll learn is that people would prefer to get all in one kit instead of and pay postage separately if it looks cheaper. Amazon did this, so Amazon made me charge £5 PMP, but the kits, so if you had to charge the same amount, I had to charge £8 for the kit, and I sold more via Amazon because people were thinking it's an £8 kit. They didn't see that it had a £5 PMP, so the PMP is worth doing separately because it gets more orders sometimes. So then now that is going to be run by, I did mention Tindy at the beginning. Tindy have taken It's a debatable move whether it's a good move or not, but they don't really do fundraisers anymore. So for the actual robot kit, I'm now on Indiegogo. Indiegogo is good and bad. So one of the things is you can't say that you need to sell 25 kits to be able to make it possible. You've got to say you've got to sell £1,000 worth. This can be good, this can be bad. Some people pledge more, some people pledge less. One thing you've got to do, so as you can see at the side it says UK and world on every bit. So a UK kit costs £33 because that's how much P&P is, including it's 5 P&P on top. For a world kit's a tenner more. So I've still had people, even though it says UK specifically, pledge money for the UK kit even though they live in the US. This can cause you issues, and this is why, say like I only need, I think it was £750 for it, but the reason why it's 1,000 is by the time you add on everyone paying for P&P, PayPal and Indiegogo or any store, you've got to add on 10% on your price because they, for every kit I sell for £35, I'm only getting in, I think it's £33. So they do take out a big chunk of your money when you're doing it. So that's the actual kit on its own. So one of the best things is if you do a product, make sure you document it because there's so many things I've bought of big companies, they don't come with any documentation. You then get it and then go, how the earth do I use this? You don't know. It takes this up. One time I got asked to review something and I couldn't, it was a very brief review in the end. So it took me 2 hours to figure out how to get it on, just working. So that's a few tips. Open source stuff. So there's a big thing. Open source to PCB would cause me issues because then you wouldn't have any reason to buy a PCB off me over making it yourself or getting an OSH part to do because it would be cheaper essentially. Possibly sometimes it can be cheaper, sometimes it can be more expensive. So don't open source that, but open source your code. There's a couple of reasons behind this. The easiest one is, if you use somebody else's code, normally that's open source as well, and then it can cause you legal issues if you use open source code and then say it's proprietary software. And that's pretty much it. So, it takes time to run your own company, and you've got to make sure your bank account matches up with what you sell and items like that. There's a lot of stuff which you do have to do extra, but it is worth it at the end of the day because it allows you to do stuff like this at my age. And that's it. Is there any questions now? This is one of the main things I was hoping for. Is there any questions? Yes.
We see it working.
The robot?
Yeah.
Yes. So this robot's currently running a software called Spaceberry. So Spaceberry works as the laptop is connected as a client to a Spaceberry server, and so is the robot, whereas the traditional method would be that's the client and that's the server. The best thing is that you don't have to have the same internet connection on both devices, but the only thing is they have to connect to the internet. And then after writing the code, it's as simple as just clicking a button here and then telling what motors you want to go on. So for forwards it has to turn motor 2A on and motor 1B on. So programming using Spaceberry is better. And then to control it, this is just a JavaScript client, which will me press WASD, and if I go to the camera, if I press W.
He's a good looking bear.
Or D. It's quite hard to move around on little buttons. And there's one of the best things is, let's see, okay, so at the back here we've got extended GPIO headers now, and these are side events that allows you to put an add-on board on top. The only thing is, some people say, put these headers on so I can put any other board on top. There's a couple boards which won't work, so I know that a Hybrilla won't work with that because it uses for the same things as what I use on my robot board. The best boards are ones which use I2C or SPI because they allow you to still, I2C is data over 2 pins, SPI is data over 5 pins, I believe, and they are not used by most boards because they are the data lines. So that's why they are better pins to use. Yeah, I think that's pretty much it. Yeah. Any other questions? Is
it seems that a lot of your grief came from actually getting supplies in, especially from overseas. With any consolation, a friend of mine works in quality control in a big electronics company, and they order massive 100,000 of quantities of components from reputable suppliers, and they still get paid.
Yeah, so that has only been on the batch 2. So the first batch I didn't have the issue because they were from reputable suppliers, namely RS and Rapid. So I've been able to rely them. This is only because I bought it direct to China. In some ways, supplying was an issue. So the things which delayed it was PayPal was one of the major delays. PayPal took 2 weeks for me to be able to get money in because of my age. This is what delayed it after, actually. It weren't actually the fundraiser which was delayed by PayPal, it was actually selling them after. Because it's also, it's now been retailed at Adafruit and iHub. They both prefer to pay by PayPal, so they don't have to pay any fees on bank charge. I prefer if I get less charge, less fee from bank charges. And there's also, there's them 2 things, and there's also quite a few other things, which make it better. The delay... Another delay is also raw mail, so if you do get a business account, you have to get special labels, you've got to get a special account, you've got to get special labels, you've got to get special bags, and then you've got to take them down to the depot, you can't just throw them in the post pillar box, which can cause you hassle. So for the fundraiser, go for a business account, but then after just throw them in the post box so you don't get any more cover by getting an account or anything, and it's just easy to throw in the post box. Yeah.
You found it harder balancing the business with your studies?
Around studies. Yes or no, I didn't have a job before, so this is essentially my first job, so it's not been that hard. It's been hard because my college won't accept the fact that my job is work, even though it's a company, so I still have to do work experience at a different company, which I didn't mind because it was at the Raspberry Foundation, but it was stupid, but it was, if I was hiring another student, they would accept it, but because I'm my own boss, they wouldn't accept it because I could just basically say to them, I've done a week's worth of work and without doing anything, but at the end of the day, it's a real job, and I don't see what's wrong with it, but yeah. Around studies, yes and no, because it's only, even though it's a full-time course, it's only 3 days a week. So I get, the hardest thing has been, so if I'm out on a Friday, because I'm in college Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday and Thursday, even though it's a 3-day course a week, I've got to be in on Mondays as well. If I have any suppliers going out to suppliers, I need a courier to pick them up. And a courier can only pick up on a Friday, so when I was doing work experience on a Friday, I couldn't have any couriers pick up because I was working at the Raspberry Foundation while I didn't have any other day to pick up, because that's one thing. Couriers will not deliver on a Saturday, unless they charge extra. So that's been the only issue, is that parcels arriving in certain days. So even if they're due to arrive Monday, they normally arrive Tuesday, because I've had 3 parcels recently been sent to the wrong depot. So yeah, it hasn't. I think if I had a job as well, from a different company, it'd be harder. If I had more of a full-time course, it'd be harder. But no, I found it pretty easy to do. It's been no worse than if I had to get a job at the college now would let me be help desk support, hello, how can I help and stuff. But I can't be doing that because I couldn't suffer doing that. So. Yes, it is. It does take up time, but it don't take up time. It's more, one of the best things about running in your own business is, if I've got an order, all I've got to do is post in a post box, which is on my way to college. All I've got to do is print out stuff. Running the financial stuff, that takes about 2 to 3 hours a week. You've got to make sure your PayPal account's got money in, matches up to your cash register and all of that. So if my cash book says I've got £1,000 in my bank, if my bank don't say I've got £1,000 in it, then I've got to go through and figure out where that missing, even if it's 1p, I've got to figure out where that missing 1p is. Otherwise, if HMRC say, where's your money, what is it all, then I could be in trouble. So that's the worst thing, is your balances. Otherwise, it's quite easy. My coding, I do coding, half of it I do anyway, I used to do anyway. So coding I used to do in the afternoon when I was going to college, or at college on the day when I was free. and stuff like that. So some of it's been hard, some of it's been better. So yeah. Yes.
Do you do all of like kind of the handling of the product yourself? Because obviously you get all of the shit.
Yes, so that's one of the only things. It's not normally a requirement, but I could go to another company and get them to package it up,
Yeah.
put it in anti-static bags and stuff like that. Well, that would cost me more money. And to be able to do that, I wouldn't be able to charge 10 for it. It'd probably have another couple of quid.
But what kind of, how many kind of units have you been? Is it?
So the orange board itself, the first batch of 400, that's split into 2 half batches. So I done the first batch of 200, which was the tin fundraiser, and luckily I got all of that in the Christmas holiday, so that was pretty easy. The second batch I got when I was at college and doing work experience, so I was really busy. I managed to get it takes about a weekend to package 200 kits, because it's quite easy, as long as you've got every single part set out into their own dedicated box, so you know, it's quite small kits. I know I've got to put a PCB in every bag, a pie header in every bag, 3 turn blocks in every bag, an IC and an IC socket. So once you get the process set up, it's fine, but it takes you sometimes 20 minutes to get the whole process set up, and you do need the dedicated work area. But after you get started, it's pretty easy after you get started. But it's then after you stop, it then takes you a little bit of time to speed up again, because you then like one thing is also when you're shipping them out, make sure you check your kits, because my reject rate has been, I've only had 2 kits come back as rejects, because out of 400, because I've been checking them as they go out. So if I see there's a part not in them, I throw them on another part of my desk, and then I then put them into a general box, which I then put as service pre-sorted kits.
Right.
If a pre-sorted kit comes in, it's not that much more effort to be able to do it. If anything, it's easy because you don't have to recheck it, because you know if it's once it's sorted up, you know every part's there and you're not going to miss a part.
And do you have kind of any future plans? Have you got any thoughts about what you'd like to do next?
Well, company-wise, I don't know what I'm going to do next.
You don't have to answer that if you don't want to. It's just
I don't actually have. Well, the next plan is to be able to get this. So this will be shipping out in beginning of July, end of June. This will be shipping out. So that's going to require me making one of the things I promised them I'm going to promise to do: assembly guides, Python examples, Scratch examples, Spacebar examples, fully written down as lesson plans and published online with source code as well.
Sure.
So that's what takes the time. After that, once it's written, you're not going to do it again. So a lot of the stuff, it's a lot of, with a new product you've got to do all the paperwork and documentation and stuff, but after that, all you've got to do then is manage your company with the finances and do the
distribution.
And distribution. So with the kits, I've done them all via Royal Mail. The first 137 was done via PPR account, so all I have to do is take them down the depot. Now I use stamps because it do save a little, like a couple of p if you do it via your label, but it means I've got to get to the depot, which is out of the way. Whereas with a stamp, because they are only jiffy bags, I just throw them in a pillar box and they get sent off fine. I've never had a complaint about them having stamped on versus the label.
Sure.
For these, they're going to be sent via economy couriers, so they will require extra labels printed out, but otherwise it's not going to be too much more hassle because the economy couriers collect from your door. So if anything, these are going to be as easy, if not easier, to be able to send out because they're going to come and pick it off me. I've not got them on my way to the depot.
Sure.
After that, I'd have to go to the post office with these, which it depends where your post office is. For me, my college is in the town. To be able to get to my post depot and back, it's only about half an hour walk to be able to post something off. So it depends. So it depends on what it is you're posting out. So just the kit on its own is very easy. The whole robot won't be as quick and easy. But a lot of it you can pre-prepare. So I had boxes worth of the kits all pre-packaged up. I've done them all together. So I've not got to then worry about having to do them as they come in.
You just stick a label on
I just then literally put a label on a jiffy bag and throw in how many kits they've ordered, and that's it. And also QR codes are better to put documentation because a lot of people have phones, documentation put on a QR code, all they've got to scan it.
Oh, so you're using a QR code to link to the website in order to find the documentation?
Whereas originally I was including paper insert, which took up room as well, and it was a lot of hassle to be out. It was a good idea, but everyone has a phone nowadays. They can just scan a QR code and I've got the documentation up. And it's also, you can do stuff like pictures and stuff, because with pictures it costs me a load of ink. whereas the original documentation was just text one picture.
Yeah.
Yeah. So any other questions at all?
Thank you.
Yeah, no worries. Any other questions? No? Cool. If you think of any questions, just come up and ask me. That's it. Thank you.
Very much, right.
Thank you.